jazz swelled, a saxophone wailing into the night. Marcus set his glass down, the clink echoing like a gunshot. He took a step forward, then another, his shadow swallowing the light. Alina's smile widened, wicked and radiant, as she tilted her head, daring him to close the distance. The air in the velvet room thickened, a palpable weight pressing against the crimson walls, as if the space itself was holding its breath. Sasha's lips hovered over Alina's shoulder, her breath warm and uneven, while Leo's fingers tightened on Alina's thigh, his knuckles whitening with restraint. The trio was a tableau of suspended desire, caught in the gravity of Marcus's approach. Before we jump in, real quick, most of you who enjoy these videos still haven't subscribed. If you're one of them, please take a second to hit that button. It helps with channel growth so much and means more than you know. And if you're already subscribed, thank you. Now, let's begin. He stopped just short of them, close enough that Alina could smell the cedar and smoke on his skin, a scent that had anchored her through years of restless nights. His gray eyes flicked over the scene: Sasha's flushed cheeks, Leo's half-unbuttoned shirt, Alina's silk dress riding up her thighs, and something flickered in his expression. It wasn't anger, not quite. It was a storm brewing, a mix of possession and surrender that made his jaw clench. "You think you're in control here," he said, his voice low, a blade wrapped in silk. "But you're not." Lina laughed, a sound that danced on the edge of defiance. "Aren't I?" She stepped out of Sasha and Leo's grasp, the sudden absence of their touch leaving her skin tingling. Her heels clicked as she closed the gap between her and Marcus, her hips swaying with a deliberate rhythm that echoed the jazz spilling from the speakers. She stopped inches from him, her chest brushing his, her breath ghosting over his lips. "You've been watching me all night," she whispered, her fingers trailing up his chest, catching on the edge of his open shirt. "Tell me you don't want this." Marcus's hand shot up, catching her wrist mid-motion. His grip was firm, not painful, but enough to make her pulse jump. "I want you," he said, his voice rougher now, fraying at the edges. "But not like this." He yanked her closer, their bodies colliding, and for a moment, it was just the two of them, the heat of his breath, the thud of his heart against her ribs. Then he turned her, spinning her back towards Sasha and Leo, who watched with wide, hungry eyes. "Show me," he said, releasing her wrist. "Show me what you've started." Command hung in the air, a spark igniting the dry tinder of the room. Alina's lips parted, a slow exhale escaping as she turned back to the others. Sasha stepped forward first, her leather-clad confidence replaced by something rawer, more vulnerable. She reached for Alina, her fingers trembling slightly as they brushed the silk at her waist. "Your trouble," Sasha murmured, her voice a mix of awe and warning. Alina didn't respond with words, only action. She grabbed Sasha's face, pulling her into a kiss that was less a dance and more a battle, lips crashing, teeth grazing, tongues tangling in a desperate bid for dominance. Leo didn't wait for an invitation this time. He moved in, his broad frame dwarfing them both as he pressed himself against Alina's back. His hands slid under her dress, rough palms skimming the smooth skin of her thighs, inching higher until the fabric bunched around her hips. Alina gasped into Sasha's mouth, her body arching instinctively into Leo's touch. The sound seemed to snap something in Marcus. He took a step closer, his shadow falling over them like a curtain, his presence a silent demand for attention. Velvet Room was a kaleidoscope of sensation now. The chandeliers flickered, casting jagged patterns across the floor, while the air grew heavy with the mingled scents of sweat, leather, and perfume. Alina was the axis, her auburn hair spilling over her shoulders as she moved between Sasha and Leo, her hands guiding, her body yielding and commanding in equal measure. Sasha's fingers found the zipper at the back of Alina's dress, tugging it down with a slow, deliberate rasp that echoed in the stillness. The silk parted, sliding off Alina's shoulders to pool at her feet, leaving her in nothing but black lace that clung to her like a second skin. Marcus's breath hitched audibly, a crack in his stoic facade. He didn't move, but his eyes devoured her, every curve, every shadow, every tremble of her skin under Sasha's and Leo's hands. Leo's mouth found Alina's neck, his teeth grazing the sensitive spot just below her ear, drawing a moan that vibrated through the room. Sasha knelt, her lips brushing the hollow of Alina's stomach, her hands gripping her hips as if anchoring herself in the storm. "Enough," Marcus said suddenly, his voice cutting through the haze like a whip. The words stopped them cold. Sasha froze, her lips still pressed to Alina's skin. Leo pulled back, his chest heaving. Alina turned her head, her eyes locking onto Marcus with a mix of defiance and curiosity. He stepped into the circle now, his presence shifting the dynamic, tilting the balance. "You want to play?" he asked, his tone dangerously soft. "Then play with me." He didn't wait for a response. His hand shot out, tangling in Alina's hair, pulling her head back just enough to expose the long line of her throat. His lips crashed against hers, a kiss that was all fire and fury, a reclaiming of territory he'd let slip. Alina melted into it, her hands clawing at his shirt, tearing buttons free in her haste. Sasha and Leo didn't retreat, they adapted. Sasha rose, her hands sliding up Alina's sides, brushing the lace that barely contained her, while Leo moved behind Marcus, his fingers grazing the back of his neck in a bold, unexpected move. Marcus stiffened, breaking the kiss to glance at Leo, a question flickering in his eyes. Leo grinned, unrepentant. "You said play," he rumbled, his hand sliding down Marcus's spine, a challenge wrapped in a caress. For a moment, the room teetered. Would Marcus pull away or lean in? Alina decided for him. She grabbed Marcus's face, forcing his attention back to her, her lips claiming his again as Sasha's hands roamed lower, teasing the edge of the lace. Jazz reached a crescendo, the saxophone screaming as the four of them collided in a tangle of limbs and heat. Alina was the flame, drawing them all closer, her gasps and moans, a siren's call that drowned out reason. Marcus's hands roamed her body, possessive and desperate, while Sasha's fingers danced with a lighter, more teasing touch. Leo was the wild card, his strength grounding them, his laughter a low rumble that vibrated through the chaos. Velvet rooms seemed to pulse with them, the walls trembling as shadows twisted and merged. A glass tipped over somewhere, shattering against the floor, the sound swallowed by the rising tide of their breaths. Alina's head tipped back, her auburn hair a wild halo, as Marcus's mouth found her collarbone. Sasha's lips trailed lower, and Leo's hands guided them all with a quiet, commanding force. Then a knock, sharp, insistent, it sliced through the haze like a guillotine. The four of them froze, a tableau of flushed skin and tangled limbs, their breaths ragged in the sudden silence. The jazz faltered, the speakers crackling as the knock came again, louder this time. Alina's eyes darted to the door, a heavy oak slab tucked into the corner of the room, its brass handle glinting in the dim light. Marcus straightened, his hand still resting on Alina's hip, his expression unreadable. Sasha pulled back, her leather jacket creaking as she stood, while Leo crossed his arms, a smirk playing on his lips. "Who's that?" Sasha asked, her voice hoarse, her hazel eyes narrowing. No one answered. The knock came a third time, a demand now, rattling the frame. Alina stepped away from the others, her bare feet silent on the hardwood as she moved toward the door. Her lace clung to her, a fragile armor against the unknown, her auburn hair swaying with each step. She reached for the handle, her fingers trembling not with fear, but with anticipation. "Lena," Marcus said, a warning in his tone. She didn't look back. Her hand closed around the brass, cool against her fevered skin, and she turned it. The door creaked open, revealing a sliver of darkness beyond a hallway maybe, or something more. A figure stood there, shrouded in shadow, their face obscured. The air shifted, a cold draft curling into the room, carrying the faint scent of rain and something metallic. Lena's lips parted, a question forming, but before she could speak, the figure stepped forward, the light catching the edge of a smile, sharp, knowing, and utterly disarming. The screen faded to black, the jazz cutting off mid-note, leaving only the echo of that smile and the promise of what came next.